This is the answers for the fourth exercise, time names of note exercises for grade 1 music theory. For this one, we're going to use the USA terms rather than the UK terms. So you may have done this first exercise or the first question in a different way, but the correct answers are as follows. For a whole note, we should have this note. So we can draw a line over here. For a half note, it looks similar to the whole note, but it has a stem. So the whole note would be this one. A quarter note will look like this. We'll just fill in the whole note. So it looks like the half note with the circle filled in. Next one is the eighth note, which is correct. So this one was the quarter note and the eighth note is here. And then the last one, the 16th note, looks very similar to the eighth note, but we add 2 flags to the side. Next, it says, answer the questions. The first one has been done for you. How many sixteenths is an eighth note? Or how many sixteenths are there in an eighth note? So that's 2. Next is, how many eighths are there in a half note? The correct answer is 4. How many half notes is a quarter note worth? So this one is the opposite now. We're going to half. And how many 16th notes are there in a quarter note? There are 4. And finally, how many eighths is a whole note worth? That would be 8. If you're uncertain for these, you can think of the following chart. So we have a whole note, which we can split into 2 half notes. We split our half notes again into quarter notes. So we have 4 quarter notes. Then we can split our quarter notes into eighth notes. Splitting our quarter notes into eighth notes, we have 2 eighth notes for every quarter note. At the moment, I'm drawing these with flags, but you can also draw them beamed together, which you'll learn about in a later exercise, but you've already seen that in most of our music already. Finally, we can split our eighth notes again into 16th notes, which I'm going to draw to save time. I'm going to draw these all beamed together. So we have, for 2 eighth notes, we would have 4 16th notes. So for every eighth note, we have 2 16th notes. So there we have our 16th notes. So what this means is, if we're looking at a whole note, we have 16 16th notes in the space of a whole note. We have just 2 16th notes in the space of 1 eighth note. We have 4 16th notes in the space of a quarter note, and we would have 8. Sorry, I made a mess of my diagram. We have 8 16th notes, or 4 eighth notes, or 2 quarter notes in the space of 1 half note. So if you're uncertain, or if you got these answers incorrect, you can use that chart to help you. The next one says, copy this melody as neatly as you can. When writing music, you need to make sure that everything is as precise as possible. So when I draw my half note, I would make sure that my half note is lined up in the center as best as I can. Then I would draw my note head first and then draw my stem. Same with, I would draw the note head first here, my stem, and then I would add my sharp sign, making sure that the center of my sharp sign is as close as possible to the middle of that line. Next, we'll continue making sure that we have the right stems going in the right direction. It's even better if you can use a ruler for some of your stems. Then, when I'm above my staff, I'll make sure that my half note isn't too big and that my flat sign is above in that space. Next, draw my note head. You'll notice that as I draw my note heads, I'm going to color them in first and then add the stem. So I'm not going to draw a circle and then color, but instead I can just make that as I draw a circle, or color in my circle just as I draw it. Then keep going. And finally ending with a whole note. So again, your goal is to make this as neatly as you possibly can, trying to make sure that it looks almost the same as the top line melody. Our next question is find and circle 4 notation errors. So there's actually one error in each measure. The first one is we have our C with the stem going the wrong direction. Next one is a G with the stem going an incorrect direction. Then we have B flat, but the flat sign is on the wrong side. And finally, if we zoom in on this one, we can see that the sharp sign is below and it's on the line below. So this one is incorrect. So now we need to rewrite our melody, making sure that we correct the mistakes. So we'll start with our C, drawing our stem down the side, our G, our A, and a B. Then we get to measure number 2. We have a D, a B, and then we'll connect those together. Remembering that the rule with our stems is that the middle line and below our stems should go up, and the middle line and above the stems should go down. The middle line can go either way. You could draw this exercise in this next measure. This one could go either way. I would say that we can put this stem going down because we're on the middle line, and the notes that follow after are also going down. But for the sake of copying this melody in the way that they've done it in this example, we'll keep it the same. And then our last 3 notes. Again, making sure that our sharp sign is exactly in the space. So there we have our corrected melody now written out.